Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja.
Hello, welcome to Political Platform. My name is Amechi Anakwe. It's a beautiful Monday after a long weekend, but of course, expectedly, so many things happening in the political terrain. In Anambra State, it will be host to big weeks of the PDP and the APC. Today, the PDP's candidate is doing his campaign flag off, and governors of PDP states and, of course, former President Goodluck Jonathan are expected to grace that. Last week, it came with a promise from the president to also be at the flag off of the APC governorship candidate zone campaign. So, the two parties, the two big parties, throwing all they have into that elections. Of course, the other leg of it is the position of the incumbent governor, Willie Obiano, who is struggling to get high-profile endorsements in his own campaign. We are told that former Vice President Alex Ekwueme had endorsed Obiano for a second term, only for him to make a U-turn after the PDP's governorship candidate picked her daughter as his running mate, compelling Alex Ekwueme to now make a new endorsement this time around to the PDP governorship candidate. And the presidency has spoken up in a more detailed manner about what transpired in the NNPC, talking about the allegations of contracts award. Before now, it's been some explanations, but a statement yesterday from the spokesperson of the Vice President, Laolo Akande, attempted to indeed offer a detailed explanation of what happened. And the conclusion is that what Nigerians have termed contracts is not a contract. According to him, that indeed it is some form of agreement that was signed, some loans also given out, and other contracts such as the Jiokuta Kaduna Kano gas pipeline project have not been fully tidied up, even when it is a contractor finance. We shall be giving you this among this program just to tell you that Uju Ejeye is with us in the studio.
Amici, Anambra promises to be quite, one that might even throw up surprises. You find that if you watch the people that have been campaigning so far, even the so-called lesser political parties, although we are not terming them that, you find that they are also commanding a lot of crowd everywhere they go. Godwin Ezemo, the other man, you find the UPP, it was quite colorful. Godwin Ezemo, colorful. And you begin to wonder, and then every single one of them looks like the governor to be.
Yes, same with some of us, so the young people there, and also Zemena of the Young Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. These are people that hope to indeed cause a major upset in what is has been termed the battle of the big parties. But in Morovia, it's going to be a runoff in the Liberian presidential election. George Weah, former World Footballer of the Year, won the first ballot by about 39%. But the laws of the country says you must win by over 50% before you're declared the winner. So there's going to be a runoff, very likely, between George Weah and Bukai, the current incumbent vice president, at a date to be determined very soon. Ijomo Samuel is also with us in the studio.
Thank you, Amechi. Let's start from home first about election. Today, the People's Democratic Party will converge on the Dennis Memorial Grammar School in Onitsha. They are all there, they are leaders, the stakeholders of the party. They are there to present a flag to their standard bearer for the November 18 governorship election. And I'm also sure that the All Progressives Congress will also be doing theirs this week. The incumbent party, I think they've done theirs, and they are still going around the state calling for people to support them for a second term. It's going to be a very, very, very tight contest when we go to Anambra November 18. And I hope that the people of that state are are keeping calm. There's so much security there, because I remember with the IPOB declaration that there will not be election in Anambra, fears gripped a lot of persons there. But now I'm very sure that the security, because what INEC told us is that the security operatives already assured them that everything is intact.
Well, we know you've been on the campaign trail of High Chief Aleo Raymond Dobesi on the PDP chairmanship. We shall be getting to that much later. Just to inform you that the issue of sectionalism by the president, allegations that the president has been a sectional president, a president only for northern Nigeria, is still in the front burner. We shall be having a telephone conversation with someone who is a close ally of the president, someone who has been with him for several years now, talking about, of course, one man who believes in the ideals of the president, Osto Okechukwu, to really find out if indeed these allegations against the president is true, coming against the backdrop of the statement credited to the World Bank president. But first, let's hear from you. Let's gauge your feelings on the major topical issues.
Hello and welcome to the mail segment. I am Etenikan Akepu.
I am Osaitin Yari. Welcome.
I'll begin with a mail from Oladele Omotayo from Chicago in USA. Writes on the World Bank versus the president. It says, I recently stumbled on the statement credited to the president of the World Bank, Jim Yong Kim, where he was quoted to have said the president of Nigeria had asked the World Bank to shift attention of developments to the north. Well, if this is true, then I just lost the last respect I had for the president. I also stumbled on the attempt by Femi Adesina to correct the statement made by the World Bank president. I think Mr. Adesina will need to do more than that. He needs to provide Nigerians with the video clips of the World Bank president's speech where he made the statement. He can defend the president of Nigeria, but he cannot change what the World Bank president has said. He only spoke what was in the mind of President Buhari. He will also need to list the various projects executed by the World Bank in other parts of Nigeria besides the north. People like Femi, Fani Kayode and the likes have tagged president as ethnic and religious jingoist. Yet, rather than convince the world that he is not, he has succeeded in convincing Nigerians that he is by his words, body languages and actions. This to me is a collective betrayal of trust that Nigerians handed to him in 2015. I feel so sad about this.
More reactions. Okochukwuka in Enugu State says, contrary to the claim by the presidency last Friday that the discussion between President Buhari and the World Bank president, Jim Yong Kim, was twisted, a reliable information from the Bretton Woods website, projects.worldbank.org, indicated that out of 14 World Bank sponsored projects in Nigeria, 7 are for the north, while 6 are for the whole country combined, and 1 is for Lagos State. It's unfortunate that despite the goodwill President Buhari enjoyed from Nigerians in the build-up to the 2015 general elections, he's paying them back by telling them they cannot be treated equally. That notwithstanding, I believe that Mr. President has an opportunity to etch his name in Nigerian sand of history by being a detribalized president if he desires to do so. To Mr. Femi Adesina and all who denied the statement by the World Bank president, I am not surprised by your defense of your principle. After all, Francis Cloud Cogburn stated, and I quote, "Never believe anything until it's officially denied. May God help Nigeria."
And Emeka Mba in Abuja titles this, Jacob Zuma made a title chief by Rochas Okorocha. He says the president of South Africa was decorated with the traditional title of Ochiaga Ndigbo, meaning warrior of Igbo people, in Owerri by the Imo State governor. Rochas Okorocha, Jacob Zuma, Ochiaga Ndigbo. Indeed, in what sense, if I may ask? Igbo youths are being killed by the South African authorities all the time. Ndigbo are the worst hit whenever there is xenophobic attack in South Africa, and the man who is at the helm of affairs in that country, who has done absolutely nothing to protect our tribesmen in his country, is now Rochas Okorocha's Ochiaga Ndigbo. What in the world is wrong with our so-called leaders? He even erected a towering giant statue in honor of a man who is facing corruption charges in his country, with state funds while workers are owed months of salaries and pension, and uncompleted projects litter the entire state. Don't you think this will further trigger more problems for Ndigbo in South Africa? May God help Imo people.
That's it on the mail segment today. Keep sending your mails to politicalplatform@yahoo.com.
Otoke, the hometown of former President Goodluck Jonathan, is less than a kilometer from where I am standing. And most parts of the road leading to that particular town have been flooded. From Bayelsa State in south-south Nigeria to Niger and Benue states in the north-central, the weight on the unwilling federal government for permanent solutions to stop recurring floods in ravaged communities continue as the rainy season winds down. Straight Talk engages the 25.958 billion naira contract awarded in 2014 for the dredging of River Benue with no work done after 3 years. There are questions the Federal Minister of Transport and its Minister, Rotimi Amechi, will not answer this Wednesday at 2 p.m. on AIT and 17 hours GMT on AIT International. It's Nigeria's development promotion program on television.
Bust it.
They present the popular radio program Political Platform on the Ray Power FM network. Ray Power FM Political Platform, now on television. Keep track of the country's polity and be part of the process as they discuss and put political developments in the country into perspective. It's Ray Power Political Platform on AIT Abuja. On AIT Abuja.
Thank you so much for your mails. Please write more. More importantly, make them brief, concise, and of course, make recommendations on, of course, how to make their country a better one. Just to remind you that apart from getting this program live on your radio sets through Power, you can also reach us on AIT Abuja much later in the evening, AIT International, or you can make a request to the YouTube, where, of course, you indeed go to the YouTube channel, AIT Political Platform, to catch up with today's edition and even, of course, previous editions. The Vice Presidency's office, well, you can call it the presidency, made a detailed explanation about what happened, what transpired in the NNPC, talking about the leaked memo of the Minister of State to the President. He came to 3 conclusions that what Nigerians have termed contracts were not contracts, but different things. According to him, there are shortlisting processes. Some of them are shortlisting processes to shortlist some firms to, of course, for instance, carry out direct purchase and direct sale of Nigeria's crude oil. That's lifting Nigeria's crude oil, selling the international market, remit funds, and some other instance also use it to procure refined products. To the presidency, these are not contracts, but simply shortlisting process. It also says there are some others that are loans, such as the one the vice president himself explained last week, and some others, such as the Ajaokuta, Kaduna, Kano gas pipeline projects, not yet contract, because according to them, they are yet to be awarded at works, and of course, other preparations are yet to be finalized. The argument goes on and on. Loans, shortlisting processes, service deals, joint venture contracts, service loans. We just hope that the Senate, I continue to repeat, every other page, just like an elephant, you describe it from the point you were able as a blind person to feel that huge animal. We were waiting for a collective conclusion of what happened after proper investigations have been carried out, so that we begin to move forward. It is a big step, no doubt. Issues of governance, issues of controls are paramount here, and the earlier we tidy this thing up, the better. Some other international intelligence experts saying this is a huge credibility test on the part of the president, a man that has been come to be seen as Mr. Integrity.
Amechi, it's a huge test, and one that Nigeria must pass if we are to gain the respect of the outside world. But I think that while we are looking at the issue, looking at the alleged, I don't know if I may call it fraud or whatever, of with regard to the contracts, I think that we're missing out one strong point, which is the one of insubordination, and the fact that no matter what NNPC is involved in, especially when it is financial. That's why the board is there. The board must be abreast of what is going on. And if as chairman of the board of the NNPC, Ibe Kachukwu is not aware of any of these transactions and the board did not approve them, then that on itself, on its own, is a big question that must be answered. Why is the board of the NNPC not aware of these financial transactions? Why is it not aware of the proposed loans? Why is it not aware of...
The GMD has said in his own submission that based on the laws, he has checked the books and there's no place for the Minister of State. That he kept reporting.
Well, I am not referring to Kachukwu as the Minister of State. I'm referring to him as the chairman of the board of the NNPC. And I do not see anything happening there that the board is not aware of. Much so that it involves huge monies. And the board is not aware something is wrong. They need to go straight to the point. Apart from unearthing whatever it is, they must also address the issue of people bypassing authority. And because that's the only way that real corruption can take place.
Amechi, I still think what the Office of the Vice President did by coming out to give explanation on what actually happened is just like trying to cover up the main purpose for Kachukwu to write that secret letter. The main purpose is, how can I be, even if you don't respect me as the Minister of State for that same ministry, you have to know that I am in charge as the chairman of the board. And this explanation from the Vice President's office is not even tackling that. They are only trying to give explanation. It's like what people call medicine after death. You have to first of all give an answer to the problem. How did it start? The foundation of the problem is because this man is not satisfied, he is not being carried along, and he happens to be the chairman of the board, and somebody who is under him is coming out to say, I do not, there's nowhere in the law that I am answerable to you. No, let us put things right. If you must fight corruption, you first of all fight corruption of insubordination and the institution. Okay,
now let's go to the allegations of sectionalism on the part of the president. The World Bank president telling the whole world last week that they had instructions from the president to indeed focus on northern Nigeria and its interventionist projects in Nigeria. We made attempts to clarify here because when the president visited the United States and had meetings with the World Bank officials, talks of allowing the World Bank to focus on the insurgency-ravaged Northeast came up. Subsequently, the spokespersons of the president came up, but it appears the explanations that what the president meant was just to take care of the damaged and ravaged places in the Northeast did not go down well with Nigerians. And of course, so many people are listing what they call the sins of the president, his sectional actions and inactions that tend to portray him as someone who is elected, not as president of Nigeria, but for northern Nigeria. We are bringing in now on telephone someone who has been very close to the president. He's very strong political ally, someone who understands his mindset. Osto Kechukwu, a member of the APC. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So you can see what is happening. Huge allegations against the president that he is a sectional in actions, in body language, and what have you. How will you respond to that?
Let me start by saying that I'm not the spokesperson for Mr. President. But if it is about what the World Bank President Jim Yong Kim said, the tradition of the World Bank throughout history, or throughout their history.
Hello? Hello, are you there? It seems they are having problems with the lines. Let's make efforts to see if we can get him back again. Also, Kechukwu, a close ally of the president. Of course, they're making the point there that he's not the spokesperson of the president, but indeed, he's going to indeed, of course, offer his perspectives on this very burning issue.
Amechi, I want to be very careful to comment on this issue. It's just that at times certain things make it difficult for you to see things the other way. First, if I would ask him a question, I would ask him if he was at that meeting or if he was briefed when the president came back, for him to be competent enough to speak on what transpired at the meeting. Does he have the recordings? That is one. And then let's come to the president's body language or otherwise. Well, I will not call the president a biased Nigerian, but it's just that I believe he's a man who has a passion for his people. Maybe he's just starting somewhere and he will get round to the other sections of the country, because I also remember that he met with leaders of the Southeast last week and he promised the Southeast more roads and rail projects. So let's give him the benefit of doubt that even as Nigerians have complained, that he's beginning to look at the other sides and also to address issues, bothering the other sections of the country, which is at the core of most of the agitations that we have right now.
We have also Kechuku back online now. Hello?
Hello. Yes.
Yes, please, you can go on now.
And what I'm saying is that by the tradition of the World Bank throughout its inception, they have been to focus to areas of crisis prone, like the Northeast. And when the clarification was made that the northern Nigeria in question is not about the segregation of the north and south in Nigeria, but about paying emphasis to the ravaged Northeast was devastated by the Boko Haram. I don't think if you go through the World Bank project.org, you also see that the World Bank made it clear what they call multi-sectoral crisis recovery project. And when you talk of multi-sectoral crisis recovery project, unless you have not been to Borno State, or you have not been to Adamawa, you have not been to Yobe, and the states in that axis that were affected deeply by the Boko Haram insurgents, then you'll be in a position to. And if you go through line by line of the expenditure, you also notice that it was to fail towards the education in that area, how to return back the people to the internally displaced persons to their abode, how to set up schools for the kids, how to provide health services, how to empower the youth in the area so that they could divert attention from listening to the gospel of the Boko Haram insurgents. So this issue, as I said, lastly for us, we're in a democracy. First judgment, because the simple definition of election is that election is the right of the voter to decide whether Mr. President or Mr. Governor had performed. So why are we trying to judge Mr. President by one statement? Why don't we judge him in the fullness of time with the project he has done across the country? Take, for instance, I told some people in Enugu the other day, I said, when the then President Jonathan and his officials did the PPP arrangement for the second Niger bridge, it came to 117 billion naira. And 30% belonged to the federal government to contribute. That regime did not contribute a dime. Mr. President had already contributed over 14 billion in that same project, which is about 1/3 of the 30% that the federal government is due to do. Then, if you go around and look even into the project he has in mind in the basket of loans, the 11-point-something billion coastal rail line is not in the lot. The $500 million advance for completion of the East-West Road.
Hello, Mr. Sita. Hello.
Yes.
Are you also aware that some of the people who are aggrieved by such, by that statement, are also aggrieved because devastation is not only in the Northeast. We agree that there's huge devastation, but also the Southeast was devastated by the Civil War, with promises by the government, known simply as the 3 R's. And up to date, those issues have not been quite attended to, of which you must also acknowledge that the president, in a way, acknowledged that when he met with leaders of the Southeast last week and promised to do something about the Southeast infrastructure-wise.
No, what I want you to take into account, what is going on in Lagos State? What is going on in Kaduna? What is going on in Kalam? What is going on in Duse? At the end of the 4 years, let us do an analysis of the location of the project. Even the Sukuku funds, it was shared 16.something billion past into political zones. And what the Ministry of Works did was to choose the most important. Mr. President talked of one that he inherited almost an empty treasury. And he went out of his way for borrowing. And he's trying to borrow according to the huge infrastructure deficit of the country. I stand to be challenged when at the end of the day, we put up a map and locate projects that Mr. President had embarked on in the various geopolitical zones. If more is in one zone to the other, then we can talk. But please, let us not listen to the propaganda of the presidential aspirant governor Ayebele Fayose and his clan and other people who did not
very quickly, Mr. Ostokechukwu, we have barely 30 seconds. Now, how did we arrive at this point where people will begin to doubt every action of the president has been sectional? From his statement of 97 to 5% appointments, how did we get to this point?
No, I had always said that appointment is temporary and transient. Yes, a lot of people like my people in the service have said, we are not in the security high echelon. Then some of the security chiefs, some are retiring, they will soon go. So please, let's not deviate attention to the fact that what led us to where we are is because the money meant in the past for infrastructural development, for provision of electricity, were looted. Let's return back the people, because without electricity, we cannot come back to work. So let's support Mr. President to borrow as much as we can to return the Nigerian people back to work.
Okay, we must thank you so much. We must thank you so much. We've run out of time, but we do appreciate your interventions. Thank you so much.
Amechi, I think the problem we are facing now, the doubts in the minds of some Nigerians about what the World Bank president said, I think it is all about perception. Public perception.
Yeah. Perception sometimes could be stronger than reality. Yes. When we come back on Tuesday, more on this will give you more reaction. My name is Amechi Amnaku. On behalf of the crew, thanks for joining us. But keep a day with us tomorrow.